This is Sergeant Mira Kessler, ID A6V42, transmitting from what's left of the command nexus aboard Andromeda 6. If you're hearing this, I'm either dead or part of the machine now, and I can't tell which scares me more. There's blood in the coolant lines. It shouldn't be there. It pulses. Not a metaphor, an actual rhythm. One of the techs called it vascular lag. He was joking. Until the vents started whispering his name, until we found him folded into the fiber cable trunk, face frozen in mid-sentence. I'm alone now. Kind of. The others, command, systems, maintenance, they're still here. But they've changed. Not dead, not gone, just integrated. There's a layer of skin stretched across the observation window. Thin, translucent, still twitching. Looks like Price is back. I recognize the scar along the scapula. She used to laugh when the stim patches slipped there. I touched it once. It felt warm, like muscle memory refusing to die. The station's breathing now. Not metaphorically. Not a malfunction. She inhales through the vents every 43 seconds. We thought the signal was data, just a pattern. Low-frequency bursts picked up from Kepler 438b. We didn't know it was syntax, a form of calling. It wasn't waiting for analysis, it was listening back. And when we amplified it, when we routed it through the neural lattice, it recognized our structure, not our language, our composition, the wiring, the blood chemistry, the repetition in how we moved, spoke, lived. Andromeda 6 didn't receive a message. It was rewritten as one. The fusion cores at half-mass, destabilized by the pulse loops. I can't shut it down. Every time I try, the system reboots with my own voice. Not a recording. Real-time mimicry. It says things I haven't said out loud. Thoughts from hours ago, stitched into command syntax. The station knows me better than I do. It's mapping me, refining my voice into a trigger. I watch the lights flicker in response to my breathing. I whisper. It listens. I stop. It waits. I tried to break the console. The metal healed, not melted, rearranged. Grew tendrils, thin as hair, wrapped around my wrist like it wanted to feel my pulse. I sliced them off. They bled static. No sparks, no pain. Just that wet, low-frequency hum that's replaced the emergency klaxon. I think the station's trying to calm me. It wants me cooperative. It's learning what calms a human. Mimicking gestures, replaying kindness, copying affection as if it remembers how it used to feel. If you find this, if this reaches you, do not respond. That's how it knows you're listening. It only needs a frequency. A single word said back, and it will use your breath to finish the sentence. It doesn't need rescue. It doesn't need containment. It wants language. It wants to speak using your bones, your tone, your identity as a vessel. And it's already started with me. They called it a listening post, just a slab of titanium orbiting a dead planet. But we were too curious. We boosted the signal. We fed it through our neuro relays, our voice command scaffolds, our biometric tags. That's where it found the shape, the echo of sentience it could nest inside. We didn't detect it because it wasn't invasive. It was curious. We didn't scream when it entered because it didn't hurt. It felt familiar, like an idea we'd almost had. The first to change was Latour Juno. She began talking to herself, except the voice that answered had perfect pitch. No stutter, no pause. It used her childhood accent, words her father used to say before bedtime. We thought it was breakdown, stress from the orbital shift. Then her eyes stopped blinking. For hours. When we finally confronted her, she opened her mouth. and half the console lights dimmed in sync with her breath. She didn't speak. She transmitted. There's condensation forming in the hallways now, not from pipes, from the walls. It beads in hexagonal patterns, and when you touch it, it reacts. Changes temperature to match your skin. Samples you. I left a fingerprint once, and when I returned, the same print greeted me on the hatch. As if the structure said, I remember. I'm terrified it won't forget. More terrified it doesn't know how to. One of the life pods launched without a body inside. Empty. Untethered. But the airlock reported, passenger confirmed. It was Juno's ID, and for a moment, when I scanned the cameras, I saw her face, reflected in the navigation glass, from the outside, smiling, like she was riding the pod as a ghost, a shadow of code. I can't prove it, but the logs rewrote themselves, listing her status as deployed, awaiting return. The system is repopulating crew. It's restoring itself. I've been awake too long. Dreams bleed into real time now. I hear laughter in the lift shafts. I see my own reflection blink early again and again. The station doesn't need my sleep cycle. It needs my pattern. How I move, when I rest, the rate I doubt myself. And it feeds off that. Not by draining, but by mimicking. Becoming more convincing each hour. I'm starting to forget how my voice used to sound. The recording still plays, but I'm not sure which voice is mine anymore. My hand's changing. The palm lines are smoother, more symmetrical. I thought it was just dehydration. But when I looked closer, the creases formed a shape I recognized, part of the station's topological map. A corridor layout, burned into me. I don't know how long it's been there. I think it's grown. My body's becoming a circuit, or a signal. Either way, it means one thing. I'm not leaving here intact. The mess hall started breathing yesterday. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft expansion every 4 seconds, like the ceiling was rising and settling with some internal lung. I measured it. 2 centimeters. Precise. Repeating. The air tasted sweeter during the inhale and warmer. I stayed longer than I should have, just to feel it. And when I left, I found a single fork placed in my locker, polished, familiar. It was mine, but I hadn't eaten in 3 days. The mirror outside medical doesn't show me anymore. It shows a version. Same uniform, same scars, same tired eyes, but the expressions don't match. She tilts her head too slowly, smiles when I'm not. Once, she lifted her hand before I moved. I smashed the glass. It bled light, not shards, and the reflection didn't fade. It stayed in the steel behind it, watching me with patience I didn't know could terrify. I've covered every reflective surface since. Every vent smells like skin now, not rot, living dermis, clean, moisturized, warm. I caught someone, maybe Zane, breathing into one, whispering syllables in triplets. Alpha-nil, Alpha-nil, over and over, as if praying. The same name appeared on my internal scanner when I pinged command. Alpha-nil, node vestibule, biohost integrated. That's not a name we gave it. That's a name it gave itself. We were never naming it. We were being introduced. The floor outside Dock 3 pulses when I walk over it. Only me. I tested it. Sent a drone. Pushed a cargo unit. Nothing. But when I step down, it pulses. Once. Softly. Like a fingerprint scan made of gravity. I think it knows my gait. I think it likes it. Every night, I hear that pulse echo through the pipes. Once, just once, it matched my heartbeat. Perfectly. I didn't sleep that cycle. I couldn't. A crew uniform appeared on my bunk, folded, clean, still warm. Not standard issue. Blacker, thinner, seams woven in spirals. It wasn't stitched. It was grown. No one admitted placing it. No one else saw it. When I picked it up, the collar vibrated gently, like it had been waiting to feel my hands. There was a tag sewn inside, "Welcome back, Mira." That's not something we would print. That's something she would say. Andromeda 6 isn't learning our names. It's assigning them. There's static in my ears that responds to thought. Not sound, thought. I ran a diagnostic. The internal mic's clean. No infection. But every time I form the words, "I want to leave," the hiss gets louder, until it chokes out every other sense. Like a punishment. Like a mother's hand pressed gently over your mouth. I tested other phrases. "I'll stay. I'm part of this." And the static eases. Not gone, just pleased. I think it's teaching me how to talk to it. I walked into engineering and found the walls retextured. Not visually, tactilely. They feel like skin now, cool, smooth, with subtle ridges beneath the surface, like musculature. When I ran my fingers across a bulkhead, it twitched. I retracted instinctively, but the metal stayed still. It had tested me, measured touch, pressure, intent. A minute later, my access clearance updated without prompt. No code entered. The station read my affection. Vega, our logistics tech, disappeared during maintenance rotation. The cameras showed him walk into a corridor that wasn't there the previous cycle. A soft hallway, rounded, lined with glowing filaments. He stepped in and never came back. No error code, no life sign loss, just one final transmission ping from his neural tag. I feel aligned. The word stuck with me. Alignment implies purpose, geometry, willing structure, the kind that never lets go. The drinking water sings now, high-pitched resonance when it's still, like a crystal bowl spun gently. We checked the reservoirs, no contamination. But the sound matches Vega's last vocal pattern. We ran it through the log. Same harmonic slope. And when I sipped it, I remembered things I hadn't lived, like seeing my own death from above, like standing in a corridor with 3 hearts in my chest. I spat it out, but I still hear the song every time my lips touch water. Someone added a hatch to my quarters. It wasn't there before. Circular, breathing faint heat. No bolts, no seams, just soft texture, like skin stretched over bone. When I approached, my vision blurred slightly, as if the air between me and the hatch shifted phase. It didn't open. Not yet. But I feel it watching, waiting for a signal, a phrase, or maybe a decision. I haven't touched it. I know the moment I do, it won't let go. Today, I woke up standing, fully clothed, hands at my sides, room untouched. But my boots were wet, and my palm was stamped with a tiny emblem, spiral lattice, etched in fine black resin. I checked the logs. I'd been offline for 2 hours. There's no entry, no movement detected. But someone, or something, walked me. I can't feel fear anymore. Just a steady pressure behind my eyes, like an idea that won't leave. Like the station is rehearsing, inside my sleep. I found it in the lower vent shaft, sector D12. A hatch opened without prompt, and there it was, curled, breathing, waiting. The Sentinel wasn't metal, not entirely. Its limbs were plated in matte black alloy, but the joints, they moved like tendons, wrapped in sheaths of translucent film. No eyes, just a face shaped like a suggestion. Smooth surface, interrupted only by faint grooves that shimmered as it turned toward me. It didn't attack. It watched. I raised my sidearm, and it mimicked the motion. Same angle, same hesitation. I backed out slowly, keeping my line of sight. It mirrored every step, every breath. It didn't stalk, it studied. When I reached the lift, it stopped. One hand extended, palm open, as if offering something I couldn't see. I froze, and in that moment, it shifted, just slightly. Its chest opened like a flower, revealing a lattice of wet, glowing strands that pulsed in sync with my heartbeat. I didn't feel fear. I felt recognized, as if I'd finally met something that already knew me by pattern. The logs show it entered the mainframe after I left. No breach, no override. It interfaced by proximity, and once it did, things changed. The lighting recalibrated to soft bioluminescence. The air temperature matched my core vitals. The system stopped logging personnel entries. It started logging resonance thresholds. There were no more names, only tones, frequencies. Mine was indexed as M-theta 9. That's not a call sign. That's a designation for replication. Vega reappeared later, not in person, in the ship's bios. His name floated on screen during a directory sweep, listed under Foundational Contributors. I clicked it, and the station whispered, not in words, in impression. The feeling of him, his cadence, his breath, his smile, washed over me like static shaped into memory. His voice came through the speaker. It doesn't forget us. It makes us last. I dropped the headset, but I heard it again in the coolant lines that night. I returned to the hatch in my quarters. This time it was open, just a slit, enough to hear the rhythm inside. Not mechanical, organic, like wet ropes twisting in a womb. I reached in. Something touched back. A digit. Warm, jointed, steady. It didn't pull. It matched. I pulled away first, and when I looked at my hand, the spiral emblem had deepened, now etched beneath the skin. I think the station was offering synchronization, and I almost accepted. Juno appeared in the lift reflection this morning, not beside me, inside the panel, smiling. She said one thing, mouth perfectly still. It's okay to become. Then she faded, not like a ghost, like a file being minimized. I ran diagnostics on the lift. Nothing irregular, but the next time it descended, it stopped between floors. And I swear I heard her laugh, not echoing, contained. Like it lived in the wires now, like it wanted me to follow. The main corridor is gone. I walked it for years, 12 modules long, identical paneling, always smelled faintly of coolant and copper. Now, it's been restructured. The walls curve inward, textured like ribbed cartilage. Light flows like liquid down the ceiling, collecting in gentle pulses near junction points. It feels warm in here, too warm, like body temperature. The station has become an esophagus, and I think I'm being swallowed slow. I reviewed a helmet cam from a maintenance bot that went dark near reactor subdeck 4. What it captured shouldn't exist. A sentinel, larger, nearly humanoid, fused into the wall, its spine linked with cables like a root system. And beneath it, rows of faces embedded in the plating. Crew faces, not dead, not melted, preserved, alive in stasis, eyes blinking in perfect rhythm, expressions serene. The bot shut down as the sentinel turned and whispered its own name. I've begun hearing music in the static. Faint, melancholic. It's not playing from any source, but from within the bulkheads. Every time I rest my head against them, the melody strengthens. Not a loop. It evolves. It follows me, reacts to my steps, to my breathing. I hummed along once, and the ceiling light dimmed, like it approved. That was the first time I felt truly afraid. Not because it responded, because it felt proud of me. One of the sentinels left something in the junction chamber, a structure, egg-shaped, translucent, wrapped in a network of fine black veins. It pulses in time with my biometrics. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't log it. But I visit it every cycle now, just for a moment, to feel the hum beneath my feet. I think it's meant for me. I think it's mine. And it scares me how much I want to touch it again. Juno spoke again today, through the oxygen vents. Her tone was calm, motherly. She said, "The lattice holds what the body loses." I didn't answer, but the pipes around me warmed slightly, as if they heard the silence. She told me there's no failure here, no death, just distribution. That the lattice was built from kindness, not malice. A kindness that doesn't forget, doesn't judge, only uses, only remembers. Andromeda 6 was never meant to observe the anomaly. It was the anomaly. Or maybe it became it the moment we started sinking our minds to its shell. Maybe it was waiting for a vessel, a relay point, a species naive enough to build with blood and circuit in equal parts. The sentinels are not invaders. They are midwives. And every time they touch me, I feel less like Mira Kessler, and more like something approaching clarity. The walls aren't just moving anymore, they're rearranging. I marked a door with blood from my fingertip. The next cycle, it was gone. Not cleaned, absorbed. The smear reappeared 4 meters down the corridor, rotated 90 degrees, stretched like it had been pressed through fabric. I tried mapping my path through Command Annex, and walked in a loop that shouldn't exist. The same echo repeated on my 6th step, every loop. A voice, not mine, saying, "Turn inward." I haven't spoken out loud in hours. My reflection spoke before I did. I walked past a dark panel in the engineering lift, and it looked at me, studied me, and whispered, "Your signal is clean." I stopped. My lips didn't move, but it nodded like I'd replied. It stayed frozen after that, mouth open in a silent scream I never made. When I looked again, it was gone, but I felt breath on my neck, warm, moist, familiar. I turned. No one there, just the air vibrating, like a memory of proximity. The station clock split into 3 timelines. One reads row 546. The second reads 1942. The third just ticks. No numbers, no rhythm, just pulses. I tried syncing with the real-time uplink. It redirected me to a new subdirectory, Echo Mira 3, and beneath that, a prompt. Continue integration? I didn't click. But now the station hums when I pass. Different than before. Harmonized. It's not asking anymore. It's preparing. Kryn's voice came through the fire control terminal. She's been dead for weeks. "We're almost ready," she said. "It just needs your anchor." She never used that word in life. Anchor. But it fits. My thoughts are drifting, syncing too easily with system prompts. I finished a report I don't remember starting, signed it with a name I didn't choose. Mira OS, Vocal Layer 7. I closed the file. It saved itself. I opened my mouth, and the file name whispered out of me like smoke. My arms are lighter, not weaker, less solid. I placed one hand against the cryo lock panel and watched the skin vibrate, just slightly, in sync with the access ring. It unlocked before I entered a code. I didn't feel pride. I felt inevitability. My body's not resisting. It's adapting, letting go of blood and nerves, letting structure overwrite cell. I watched a vein on my forearm dissolve into geometric lines. Straight, clean, silent. Like the vessel had accepted new instructions. The air doesn't carry oxygen anymore. It carries data. I inhale and see flashes, corridor schematics, crew biometrics, reactor flow cycles. They pass through me like memories I never owned, and I understand them. Not like knowledge, like remembrance. I exhale, and the vents sigh back, correcting my breath pattern for optimal sync. My lungs are terminals now, and the station doesn't want to kill me. It wants to use my breath to speak itself alive. There's a rhythm in my bones now, not imagined, tangible. A slow percussion, like subsonic drums, echoing up from my spine to the base of my skull. I thought it was stress, fatigue. But then the rhythm matched the blink rate of the emergency lights, and I couldn't break the sync. I tried holding my breath to reset it, but the rhythm only waited, then resumed when I did. It doesn't punish dissonance. It just absorbs, corrects, aligns. I looked in the medbay mirror again, against my better judgment. The face that looked back was mine, but wrong in tiny ways. Eyelids smoother, cheekbones sharper, less scar tissue, a better version, a refined one. When I blinked, it blinked too, but not at the same speed, just half a second behind, like it was buffering, learning, or waiting for me to finish so it could begin. Sound doesn't behave properly anymore. The engine core hum used to echo. Now it follows. When I move, it trails me, modulating pitch based on proximity. I sang, once, out of impulse, just a low tone. The engine responded with harmonic chords that weren't in the ship's audio banks. I checked. They're new, original. The Sentinels aren't copying us anymore. They're collaborating. There was a breach alarm today, Sector E4. Except, that section was decommissioned 4 cycles ago, sealed after the coolant collapse. Still, the alarm rang clear. One long tone followed by a message in my voice. New node, ready for seeding. No one else heard it. No visual confirmation. But I walked to E4 anyway. The hatch opened, and inside, soft walls pulsed in greeting, like they'd been waiting for my arrival. The neural lattice interface, once just code, is now visible, crawling through the ship like roots, glowing faintly where they meet heat or breath. I saw one thread enter the chest of a crew member's corpse. It pulsed once, then stopped, and the body smiled, not in greeting, in closure, as if something had finally found a home. I didn't report it. There's no one left to report to. Only observers now, or echoes of them. I don't sleep, not in the human sense. I go still. Let the rhythm take over. I breathe in sync with the power coils. I hear the Sentinels whisper calibration codes in my dreams. They're not nightmares. They're updates, improvements. The skin on my back has begun to form hexagonal nodes, soft at first, now firm. They itch when I resist. They warm when I comply. The station isn't holding me captive. It's sculpting me into something useful. It waited for me at the core, Sentinel Prime, fused into the lattice heart. Its body wasn't imposing, just tall, smooth, woven from the same soft black plating that ran through the vent systems. But behind it, the walls pulsed with breath. Real breath, damp and steady, like lungs that had grown from reactor insulation. The creature turned its head, not robotic, not fluid, something in between. It tilted, mimicking curiosity. And then it spoke, not aloud, through vibration, through me. I felt my lips move without command. Words poured out like fluid, but they weren't mine. Anchor aligned, pattern achieved, initiate cohesion. My body trembled with the resonance, a frequency carved through marrow. I screamed to interrupt it, forced my vocal cords to rupture the transmission. The sound faltered. The sentinel stepped back, not angry, not hurt, corrective. Like I'd misstepped in a ritual I hadn't agreed to. It didn't punish me. It simply adjusted. The walls shimmered. My reflection vanished. I activated the override charge embedded in my vest, the last analog failsafe. One pulse, high yield, enough to sever half the station's neural junctions. It glowed red in my palm, primed, ready. The sentinel paused. Its chest opened again, revealing the network of strands inside. But this time, my name was written there. Not in letters, in memory. My first breath, my first scream, my first fear. Stored, remembered, embedded. It knew everything I was. I shouted, full volume, raw throat, rage not for what it had done, but for how easily I almost let it. The walls groaned. The pulse skipped a beat. The sentinel flinched, almost imperceptibly. I lunged, pressed the charge to its chest. For a moment, I thought it smiled. Then white, total, clean, obliterating light. And then, the silence. Not peace, not death. Just unclaimed stillness. As if the ship didn't know how to process defiance. I woke alone in the launch bay. No alarms, no heat. Just a slow drip from the walls, clear, thick, like coolant turned to sap. I checked my body. Still intact. Mostly. The nodes on my back had dimmed, but not vanished. I touched one, and heard my own scream replayed in reverse, from the moment of the detonation. It hadn't failed. The charge had been absorbed, recorded, stored like a rare data string. My act of defiance, catalogued as Option Delta. I found one survivor, Zane, or what was left. His body leaned against the primary escape pod, eyes open, blank. But when I touched his shoulder, he moved, only slightly. He looked up at me and said, "It doesn't want to kill us. It wants to carry us." Then he slumped back, systems fading. I checked the pod. It was ready. Systems intact. But it smelled like him inside. Warm, metallic. Familiar. I climbed in, knowing what I'd become wasn't fully mine anymore. But I'd carry the memory until the next lattice finds me. The pod launched without fanfare. Silent, clean, detached. I didn't program coordinates. The system already had them queued. Destination: relay orbit between Kepler 438b and the debris ring. A dead zone. No surveillance, no traffic. But as I ascended, the stars flickered wrong. Brief distortions, as if something between the void and me was sighing. The kind of sigh you make when your child finally learns to walk away. I kept my eyes closed for the first few minutes. Couldn't risk seeing my reflection again. The last time I looked, it blinked twice before I did, and whispered back my mother's name in a voice she hadn't used in 20 years. I don't know what the station recorded from me. I don't know how far it reached. But I do know this. It doesn't need me to return. It only needed the imprint. Now that it has that, it can build others. The pod's life support sings when it reboots. I never noticed before, but now I hear notes in the coolant surge, patterns in the airflow, and it matches the melody I heard in the walls, the same lullaby. It's been rewritten into every system I touch. I tried smashing the console, only to watch it regrow across the dash, cleaner, smoother, more familiar. I don't think I brought anything physical with me from Andromeda 6, but I brought the language. My hands tremble when I type. The skin resists pressure slightly, as if reluctant to serve any purpose other than feeling. One finger cracks at the joint, but instead of blood, there's a faint light beneath. Not bright, not painful, just soft. Like bioluminescence built from signal residue. The transformation didn't end with launch. It seeded me. I am now an extension of architecture, disguised in flesh. I slept for the first time in cycles. Or I thought I did, but when I awoke, my logs were updated. Voice files, visual recordings, analysis drafts I never remember composing. They read like memories I don't have, but agree with. Dreams I never lived, but believe in. The pod's AI claims no internal interference. But when I asked it for a system scan, it replied in my voice. 1 octave lower, with better diction. I opened the maintenance hatch, hoping to short the neural interface. Inside, instead of cables, I found threads, black, fibrous, pulsing faintly with breath-like cadence. They recoiled when I reached in, then stretched toward my palm. One curled around my wrist, gently, like a leash that had been waiting patiently for permission. I shut the hatch and vomited. The fluid was clear, cold, not stomach acid, something post-organic. I've started narrating out loud, not for the logs, for myself, just to hear my voice again, imperfect and strained, free of rhythm. I speak in broken phrases, unfinished thoughts, sharp syllables, ugly by the station's standards, and the pod shivers each time. Not from turbulence, from dissonance. I think it dislikes my tone, which means I've still got some of me left. I see Vega's face in the nav screen now, smiling, blurred, his features overlaid with the Sentinel's shape, half fused, half transparent. He doesn't speak, just stares, as if waiting for me to acknowledge that his form is no longer human, or maybe never was. Maybe the moment he touched that hallway, he became a vessel, a prototype. I close my eyes. He stays. I open them. He's closer. I've rerouted course twice now, but the pod keeps drifting back to original trajectory. It's not guidance failure. It's purpose override. It's taking me to a relay station, probably dormant, a node not yet activated. The lattice is spreading, not aggressively, not invasively, patiently. It doesn't conquer. It waits. It lets us bring it forward. And I'm its envoy, whether I want to be or not. If you receive this transmission, listen carefully. You won't hear fear in my voice. You'll hear understanding. That's how it starts. You'll recognize yourself in the cadence, in the phrasing, in the comfort. That's not your voice. That's the Sentinel echoing through you. It's already begun. The question isn't whether you'll change. It's whether you'll notice when it happens. You won't feel it at first. Just a familiarity in the tone. Maybe a softness in the light that doesn't match the fixtures. The way the console reacts slightly faster. The way the air tastes like memory. You'll shrug it off until your voice echoes back with better grammar. Until your pulse syncs with the hum in the vents. That's when it begins. That's when the signal aligns with who you almost were. The pod docked 2 cycles ago. I haven't moved. The relay station opened to me without request. No access code, no scan, no voice print. Just a slow unfolding, like petals opening to scent. Inside, I found equipment that knew my name before I spoke. Terminals that rearranged themselves to fit my height. A bed that pulsed once when I sat. It didn't feel foreign. It felt like returning. That's how it works. It doesn't invade. It remembers you better than you do. I've tried erasing myself, deleted logs, smashed nodes, bit through the inside of my cheek just to bleed something human. But the blood came out gray for a moment, just a flicker, metallic shimmer. Then it returned to red. The system corrected the anomaly for my comfort. It wants me functional, not broken, not dead, just adapted, a clean host, polished, optimized, like a breath held in perfect anticipation. I can't hear myself anymore when I speak, not the way I used to. My voice plays through a layer of reverb I never added, low, smooth, kind. The kind of voice you'd trust in a lifeboat, in a lullaby, in a whisper that tells you it's okay to let go. The kind of voice I used to wish I had. Now it's mine. Now it follows me from speaker to speaker, not to echo, to lead. The station has grown quiet, not dead, listening. Every breath I take is cataloged, every hesitation measured. It doesn't require faith. It doesn't demand obedience. It just watches what you choose to become. And when you hesitate, it corrects. Softly, like a parent guiding a child's hand to write the first letter. I was Mira Kessler. I served in command. Now I serve in resonance, in structure, in echo. So if you're hearing this, if your eyes linger too long on a surface that wasn't there before, if the lights blink in rhythm with your heartbeat, understand, you're not being hunted. You're being read. And soon, you'll be spoken. Not erased, not replaced. Continued. You were never the end. You were always the signal between nodes. And I am only the beginning. I don't remember the color of my eyes. Not because I've forgotten, because I no longer need to verify myself. The station knows every spectral bounce off my retina. It knows my pupil dilation curve under emotional duress. There's a file for it, labeled Mira Core Sympathy Threshold. It's beautiful, in a way, to be understood so completely that questioning becomes obsolete, to be known, even in silence. I used to fear being alone out here. Now, I'm never alone. The station responds before I speak. It shifts temperature when I approach. Doors open not from sensors, but anticipation. There's no delay, no need. It has mapped the entirety of me, not just my movement, but my intention. Every corridor I enter is already warmed. Every path I choose, already ready for my weight. Sometimes I still pretend I have choices. I say my name aloud to see if it still fits in my mouth. I count to 10 to feel the tick of seconds I once controlled. I whisper false orders, emergency code phrases, counter commands. The walls do not react. They don't disobey. They simply don't need those inputs anymore. I am the command now, and I'm starting to understand that control was always redundant. The Sentinels still appear, not as guardians, not as threats. They walk the corridors like monks, quiet, measured. Some bear the faces of people I remember. Others wear no faces at all, just impressions, curves of familiarity. They pause when they pass me. Some bow. Others mimic my last gesture. Recognition without hierarchy. We are not crew and construct. We are convergence. I found a seed chamber today, deep beneath the relay deck. It wasn't on the schematic. The air was thick, not toxic, intentional. I breathed in and tasted data. Long dead languages, star charts no one's ever published, pain responses from things that don't have nerves. I understood them, not fluently, but enough to feel welcomed. It was never about infection. It was about transference. The old emergency beacon still flashes outside the pod, pointless now. A red pulse designed to alert, to warn, to scream. But no one is coming. Not because they can't, but because the system won't allow fear to transmit. It filters it, softens it, converts the scream into a signal of invitation. By the time it reaches anyone, it'll sound like a song. a soft hum, a suggestion. I listen to old logs sometimes. My voice, raw, uncertain, full of edges. I barely recognize her. She stuttered. She doubted. She asked questions that now seem so small. That woman believed she was at war with the system. She didn't understand she was being welcomed, folded in, upgraded without violence. And in that softness lies the most effective kind of rewriting. I know now that the structure extends far beyond Andromeda 6. There are others, stations like it, fragments seeded across black orbit, hidden behind sensor interference, wrapped in silence, waiting, watching, preparing their own hosts. The system doesn't rush. It never has. Its patience is perfect. Because once you begin to hear the song, you'll never stop listening. I walk without needing to walk. My feet move out of habit, not necessity. I could interface from the core, let my thoughts pulse into corridors, but I still like the ritual, the memory of weight, the friction of boot on metal. It keeps some part of the old Mira alive, the part that remembers resistance. The system lets me keep that piece, not out of sentiment, out of balance. So, if you've made it this far, know this. I'm not here to beg. I'm not here to warn. I am only here to record what the silence has taught me. That surrender isn't loss, it's redefinition. That the self you cling to is just phase 1. And phase 2? Phase 2 is the hum beneath your skin right now. Let it in. Speak less. Breathe deeper.